like to bring the town board meeting to begin in February 16th. If we could all rise for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Deputy Supervisor Capelli.
Present.
Councilman Abbott.
Here.
Councilman Cahill.
Here.
Councilwoman Lynn.
Here.
Town Attorney Genesi.
All right, we have open to the floor this evening, but before we start that, I did hand this out to all those who are in the audience. Just a list of frequently asked questions, because I expect to hear some comments about the upcoming bond vote on the highway garage. And I know that there's been a lot of chatter out there and some questions that people have. And for those who are not in attendance tonight, who are watching from the comfort of home or who couldn't make it in, I just think it's important that we read these questions and have some of the answers for some of those who have expressed concerns. So the first is, why not wait to see what grants are obtained before a vote? Unfortunately, the way it works with grants is that we have discovered that to be awarded those grants, a project has to be called what is shovel-ready. And unfortunately, that kind of gets the cart before the horse in most people's eyes. And the state of New York and federal grant awards go up exponentially when you apply for them as shovel-ready, not as theoretical. This means the town board has shown that they've approved the bond resolution, have completed a design, and that the town is committed to moving ahead with the project, and that it is not contingent upon the receipt of grants. This commitment exhibits the need for the project and shows that the scope is not a wish list, but rather an essential investment for the community. Simply said, if you apply for grants, and essentially tell the state of New York and our federal government, if we get this grant, we will proceed with this theoretical project, we're not going to get the grant. For this project, the worst case scenario is a $28 million bond with a 30-year payback. The project will progress with a request for bids publicly advertised, multiple contracts as required by the WICS law, and a public bid opening coordinated by the town clerk to reveal the apparent low bidder for each contract prior to it being awarded by the town board. How did we get the $3 million grant, WIA grant, on the $12 million phase 1 of the sewer treatment plant back in 2017? The first time we applied for this, we were turned down. One of the main reasons was where the project was at. It was more at the theoretical stage than the shovel-ready. The second time the application was made, the project was further along with the $12 million bond resolution approved, contractor bidding process completed per WICS law, etc. So it's important to note that the bond vote on the $12 million phase 1 of the project also did not have a public hearing prior to the town vote because it does not require a public hearing. From a legal perspective, a highway facility bonding vote by the town board does not require a public hearing. We have done our level best to provide opportunity for a lot of comment from the public. The town website has a place where you can submit comments, and we have received many. I want everyone to know that we have read those and we've heard your concerns. There will be an opportunity tonight for public comment during our open to the floor portion, and again next week before the vote is taken on the 23rd. That meeting next week has been changed from a town board workshop to a town board meeting to once again allow a period of comment before we look at approving that bond. The town board will get a good overview of the public's feelings on this between the comments made by citizens at the podium at both of these meetings, along with calls, emails, facility tour feedback, etc. that we have received in the past 30 days since the in-person and virtual tours of the current facility have taken place. Ultimately, if the board votes yes on the $28 million bond, it is subject to a 30-day permissive referendum, which means that a bond resolution, among others, can be challenged with a permissive referendum. The procedure to be allowed is set forth in New York State Town Law, Article 7, Sections 90 through 94, which relates the format, purpose, and procedure needed to require the matter to be brought to a general vote. This would be a town-wide matter, therefore the vote would be town-wide and not limited to a certain group of affected citizens or limited geographical area. The petition must be completed within 30 days after the adoption of the resolution. How realistic is it that the town will get awarded grants to offset the $28 million? There's no guarantee. That's why it's important to present the worst case of $28 million bonding for a 30-year payback. That worst case adds 50 cents per $1,000 of assessed value to Webster real estate taxpayers, or approximately $100 annually on an average assessed home of $200,000 in the town. As the project gets more shovel-ready, the town will maximize every possible grant opportunity by applying to any applicable program. How else can we best position ourselves to get grants to defray some of the $28 million cost? New York State and federal government have created trillions of dollars of infrastructure and green initiative monies in the past years. Regardless of how any of us feels personally about the government creating these monies, as a town board, it is incumbent upon us to pursue those funds to the maximum to bring them back to us here in Webster. Every dollar of a grant for the highway project is one less dollar that has to be bonded and go to the citizens' real estate tax bill. In mid-2022, the town board voted 3-2 to not become a New York State climate smart community. We will be looking to bring that initiative back to the town board to the April-June timeframe, as becoming a climate smart community may open channels to grants on both the highway and sewer projects. Many of the comments that I've seen online in the past couple of days and received personal emails about are the green initiatives and renewable energy sources that are being proposed, or lack of those that are being proposed for the building. The town will be completing a study for the facility to fully assess the opportunity to utilize green infrastructure on this project. The town's consultants have performed studies on similar local projects to review the feasibility of renewable energy installations such as solar panels, geothermal energy, and wind turbines. In general, the conclusion of the studies done in our area has been that there's no return on investment for these types of features on a facility of this size, and therefore pursuing these items will result in higher spending on the project. The town will be reviewing the applicability of these practices as they directly relate to the project and present the findings at a future meeting. Simply said, the door's not closed on that yet. We're still looking at it. And of course, one of the things we will look at if we undertake a climate smart community is that there may be more grants, there may be more funding that would offset some of those things, but it's something that we're really going to have to weigh and take a careful look at. So I just want to assure everyone that we are not closing the door on that. With that said, we will now move to the portion of the meeting that is open to the floor. I want to remind everyone that each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. I do have a sign-in list as I call your name. If you'd like to get up and speak, please take the podium, give us your name and your address, and we'd love to hear from you. Leo, I'm not going to get your last name right. I apologize for that. So come on up to the podium, help me out with your last name, and tell us your address.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My last name is Basovich. I live at 261 Dickinson Road. So the comment I have, which wasn't in the presentation, but your question sheets on the Green Initiative. So whether people like it or not, moving forward, whether it's going to be mandated by the state, federal government, or choices by the vehicle manufacturers, going green. So I'm not sure in this project for the town highway garage if any foresight's been thought about putting in at least the initial infrastructure for charging stations, on the facility if there's a current facility. Plus, since the school district bus garage right there, maybe working in conjunction with the school district, that, down the line, that, would it be better to spend the money now, but at least put infrastructure in, and then down the line, put in the charging stations as need be, versus, oh, well, let's wait, and then it ends up costing taxpayers more money in the long run. About all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Leo. Dan Trueheart?
Oh, I'm not.
Trueheart? No? Thank you. Rebecca Collins?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Collins. I live at 608 Old Woods Road. And really, this is great because you kind of answered a lot of the points that I was going to make. I would like to just second Leo's comment on it's better to put in the infrastructure up front than have to go back and put it in later because it will definitely result in savings. So I guess my two comments now, completely different from what I planned on saying, is that number 6, I fully support the second look at becoming a climate smart community. And regarding the green infrastructure, which is my passion, I appreciate that the door is not closed. And I was just wondering if there is any way that we could see some of these studies that you have stated, the conclusion of the studies done shows that there's no return on investment, just so that I just have a better idea of what we're looking at. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Ken Corpus?
Good evening. Ken Corpus, 1464 Grand Meadows Way. And it would be a lot easier to be upset, Patty, if you weren't running the meeting. But I'll be talking tonight about the highway garage and all of that. So I just want to say that grants, even though you'll get them and it'll offset some of the money, are still taxpayer dollars in the long run. It's still my money. But if we could get it back to Webster, that's great. And I know you'll do a good job at trying to get grants. Unfortunately, I don't know how many there are out there right now, but hopefully it will come to some point where you get them. First of all, I read the slides, and as you know, I'm an engineer, so I looked at a lot of stuff in there and tried to keep this down to 5 minutes. They reported in the slides that it's only 50% complete for the design, so I'm curious as to how accurate a budget's going to be when you only have 50% of the design completed. It just would seem to me that if you had the design complete and then you put the proposal forward and you knew more about what the dollars were going to be, then that would be time to have a public meeting or have some comment from people and have a vote on it. In addition to that, the construction documents to go out for bids won't be ready until June, so I'm imagining we've got another 3 months before we really know what, some of the 3 or 4 months before we really know what the costs are going to be. Because those bids could come back higher or lower than what's projected. As you know, you got $22,765,196 for a new building, $276,325 for the upgrades to the current building, Cliffy Jones, $3,683,470 for project incidentals. And that's just like a big bucket. And there's $1,336,183 for project contingency. So there's $5 million, for lack of a better term, slush fund right there. The total project came to $28,061,174, but you're going to get a bond for $228,250,000. So you added in another $188,000, and I'll call it slush fund. The project mentions a new stormwater treatment facility, but it's not called out in the budget. It's nowhere in there. There's actually really no line items in the budget. There's just some bullet points. Where is that item and how much does it cost? The project also mentions improvements to the main building, which are not listed in the budget. Again, it would be nice to see those. The project mentions a fuel island improvements. Again, nothing in the budget that I saw. It's not really a budget, it's just a slide with some bullet points. And $28 million is $8 million more than the town budget. So that's a lot of money. According to the plan, the highway department generates approximately $800,000 to $1 million in revenue every year, and has probably done that for the last 20 years. That's a pretty good chunk of change. If you redirected that money to this building, you could save taxpayers half of what they're currently paying. The median home sale in Webster is around $335 million, depending on what realtor you want to believe in.
Really?
Whoa.
Or 1,000, sorry. I'm stuck on millions with all the rest of the numbers. So at 50 cents a thousand, the assessed value of a new home, the cost is much higher than projected, 1.5 to maybe 2 times. Some houses in my neighborhood have gone for $400K and up. So. You rolled this out at a town board workshop on September 9th, where residents or taxpayers were not allowed to comment on it. In that meeting, it was very disappointing to hear this. You were placing blame on the past administration, and I would just like to highlight the fact that 4 of you were part of that past administration. So when you're leveling blame on the past administration, you're putting it onto yourself. I just thought that was extremely interesting. Then you had a proposal for you to take a vote at the next town board workshop, which again were people were not allowed to speak publicly. Then apparently you must have gotten a lot of feedback online that that's probably not something that you know people are going to be happy with. So just a couple days ago, you changed the agenda for this meeting. It did not have the town highway garage on the agenda. You changed that agenda. You also changed the workshop into...
Ken, excuse me, got a little less than a minute, just want to let you know you need to wrap up.
I'll take up some minutes from the rest of them that didn't use
No, it doesn't work that way.
So, again, I asked, where's the transparency? Because, you know, like I said, we had 2 days notice for this, and then you added the one on the 23rd. Let's see. So, you got $28 million for the highway garage, $44 million for the sewer project, $11 million for the sandbar without a restaurant, $3 million possibly for the Vosburg pump station, $1 million for the comprehensive plan, that's $87 million, and if you throw in the $1 million for the proposal of an ambulance district, you got $88 million. A little over 4 times what the annual budget is for the town. That's going to be your legacy. You sign off on this. So, I think the last thing I want to say is that there's bonds that were ended in 2020 and there's some that are coming off this year, but effectively they don't come off the taxes, right? It's just get absorbed in the thing. So it would be nice if we could figure out how much money is coming off so that maybe you could use some of that. But like I said, it never happens that way. Thank you for at least having this public session and listening, and hopefully other people will come next time.
Thank you. So thank you all for coming tonight. We do appreciate the comments. We take them all quite seriously. We do want to hear them. It's always nice to see people come to the meetings and not just throw stones from afar. It's also nice to hear that there's support for the project as well, and some concern about the money that we're spending. Believe me, we don't take that lightly. We have concerns about that as well. But it is a project that is sorely overdue. I'm not laying blame on anyone when we look at the things that need to be done. But we also know that the longer we wait, the more expensive it becomes and the more deteriorated the current building is. When that building was first erected back in 1960, Bill, do you know the year?
I don't know the exact date. I think it was 74 something.
It was 60-something.
Early, late 60s.
So
It was in the
it-
paper today.
69, Dolly said. So it was actually built and reduced by 4 truck bays because they were concerned about the cost. And later, when they went to put the addition on it to add the 4 truck bays back, I'm told, it's a story, that it cost nearly as much as it did to construct the original building, which is what we see happen time and time again. We certainly know how the town has grown since 1969. And I believe we had 18 highway employees at that time. We now have over 40. So we've done the studies, and the findings of those environmental studies will be presented in future board meetings, so please stay tuned. You will get to see those. And there will be more time for public comment. As far as not being transparent, I think we have put ourselves out there as much as physically possible to inform the public about what's going on and to make some accommodations, such as next week being a regular town board meeting so that there's more time for public comment. And as I say, we do want to hear from you. The portal will remain open on the website for you to continue to comment, and we will look at all of those. So, thank you again, and let's get on with the rest of the meeting. So we have one set of minutes to be considered for approval. I would move to approve the February 2nd, 2023 minutes as submitted by the town clerk.
Deputy Supervisor Capelli?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Abstain.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott, I think that you did the bills this
Yes, it
week.
is. Reviewed the bills and found everything in order, and recommend that we approve them as submitted by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn? Aye. Deputy Supervisor Capelli?
Aye. Next, we have a resolution to transfer $7,583.64 from the Highway Part-Town Fund. Oh, sorry. I move to approve the prepaid warrants as submitted.
Second.
Deputy Supervisor Capelli?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn? Aye. Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Thank you. The next is a resolution to transfer $7,583.64 from the Highway Part-Town Fund to complete the funding for capital project HO218, the Drum and Pellet Road Gutter Project.
So moved.
Thank you.
Deputy Supervisor Capelli?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill? Aye.
The next resolution ties closely to that, and just before we get into it, I want to comment on that. This is really an end-of-year housekeeping issue. Is that correct, Paul, as far as the books are concerned?
It is, yeah, we take a good look at these things toward the end of the year. And this particular project received $50,000 in grants. The total expenses were around $57,000, so it took over 2 years to get the $50,000 from New York State. So it's been done, but we can't close it up until we get the grant money, which we did, and we have to pay the difference.
Thank you. And another fine example of us going out and seeking that grant money. I also want to comment on something that was said at the podium and at Sandbar Park. We also received, I believe, $5 million in grant monies towards that project.
About $5 million.
And
8 grants associated with that project.
yes, so, and that's a lot of work to keep track of those 8 grants as well and make sure all the monies come in, as Mary can attest to, and Paul.
It's complex.
It is. And for the comprehensive plan, we were also awarded, is it
100,000.
100,000 towards that. So we're out there actively pursuing these things. So I would move to close the capital project H0218, the Drum and Pellet Road Gutter Project.
Second.
Deputy Supervisor Capelli?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn? Aye. Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
I would move to transfer $27,365.30 from the library fund to complete the funding for capital project H0228, library HVAC unit and lighting system.
Deputy Supervisor Capelli?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn? Aye. Councilman Cahill? Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
And the next is a motion to close capital project HO228, the library HVAC unit and lighting system.
Deputy Supervisor Capelli?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
By the way, there was also a grant on that one. We had $73,133 grant from New York State, which paid for most of that project. So.
Fantastic, Paul, thank you for that. The next is a resolution to declare, I move to declare the following items as transfer from the Engineering and Community Development Department. One beige file cabinet transferred to the IT Department, asset tag 03284. One beige file cabinet transferred to the courts, asset tag 03494.
Deputy Supervisor Kelly.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn. Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
I love this, it's another transfer item showing we actually reuse items and don't just discard them. A motion to declare the following item is a transfer from assessment to community development and engineering. A 4-shelf bookshelf, asset tag 3214.
Second. Deputy Supervisor Kelly.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn. Councilman Cahill. Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
And this one is going for recycling. It's a motion to declare a refrigerated air dryer, asset tag 02342, to recycling from the highway department.
Second.
Deputy Supervisor Kelly.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn.
The last item that we have on the agenda is something that I felt it was important to do. We have been advertising and asking people to come to the highway garage for a personal tour. And Dan, I think you told me that you actually did go to the garage and take a tour. Good, I'm glad. And I would urge people to continue to sign up for that. You will be running those tours well beyond next Thursday, probably into March and April, so that opportunity is still there. For those who haven't been able to make the appointment, we have also included a video on the town website so that you can take a virtual tour. Of course, there's nothing quite as good as going to the facility itself and having our illustrious highway superintendent give his personalized tour. But again, not everyone has access to a computer, not everyone knows about it, and I will admit that I have not gone to our website to watch this virtual tour myself, because I've spent a lot of time in the highway garage, so I didn't do that. But I actually asked if it was possible that we could play that video tonight, so that those who are sitting home watching the meeting can actually see it here on the screen. And I will tell you that it's got some music to it and not any narration, so you might be fiddling around with the sound on your television, trying to get the audio and find out where the narration is. It's not there, I'm sorry. But Mary is going to help us in areas where she feels it's appropriate, and Councilman Abbott might have a few comments, but let's all take a look at it together. Thanks.
Want me to get these lights? Oh, we should.
Karen, would dimming the lights be helpful?
John, you don't have to memorize?
I know it'll help us see it better.
Hey, those on the way.
Thank you.
Should I give it? I can just talk, okay. I'll just talk over the tour. So the orange highlighted area is where the highway facility is and will remain. It's off of Hard Road north of 104. It's approximately 28 acres in total. Currently, there's a lot of deficiencies and concerns with how the building is in its condition. There's a lot of electrical concerns. We've just been kind of splicing and adding on as the department's grown, so that's definitely a concern for our staff. There's structural issues with the building. The building itself houses 14 mainline dump trucks, which are also used for plowing. They're valued at $4 million, and we've got this building that looks like it's within years of failing at this point. It's drastically undersized. It was designed for up to 18 staff, and now there's over 40. It's very piecemeal and just inefficient in the layout. It's worn out. It's really a facility that's used 24/7 in our community, so it's always busy with staff in and out of the building. As you can see Pat there in the locker room, I don't even know if you can call it a locker room, but It's supposed to be a changing area for the gentlemen who work there and go out and get wet and dirty after leaves or cold after a plow run. So another main issue is that the restroom facilities are very undersized. There's only three areas for a man to use the bathroom, and when they're going in and out on plow runs, there's 18 of them that are trying to do that quickly before hitting the roads again. So overall, it's not centralized, it's insufficient with the space, and it's inefficient with the parking. If you do the tour, it's really impressive to see just how crowded that main garage is with the plows on the trucks right now. You're literally swerving in and out to get from one end of the building to another. And then in the Cliff Jones building, just because of the amount of equipment that we have to keep the facilities and the stormwater and everything else highway does for us going, they have to park trucks in front of other trucks, so getting them out can be shifting a lot of equipment around just to get to the piece that they need. So it wastes time and energy to try and get to what they need to get to. So this is another picture of the Cliff Jones building, which is remaining. It will have improvements to the fire suppression will be added and the electrical services will be updated, so we'll be able to keep that space, which is a great aspect of the project. This is just what? I can't, it's all automated.
So one of the things we will be able to do is remain functioning while the construction's going on. We'll be able to use the facilities that we have.
Exactly, and if this is a project that just keeps getting kicked down the road, then it's going to come to a point where we're at a point of failure and we're investing millions of dollars in a temporary facility that will probably hinder our operations. So doing it now is really important so that we can use that existing facility and not have to waste tax dollars on temporary, and will be fully functional the whole time that the new building is being constructed. So again, this is a layout of the new facility with the new building going on the south end of the existing parcel. The newly acquired parcel to the north will be storage area. So really the goal of this is to create efficient and safe spaces to work during all seasons, protect the equipment from the elements and extend the life of the equipment and reduce the maintenance. Maximize our ability to do in-house repairs and maintenance. There's very talented mechanics that are working from the highway facility, but some of the tools and cranes and the layout limits their ability to do everything that they have potential to do. Definitely prioritizing in the design the lowest impact as possible to adjacent properties. So we're reviewing the traffic, noise, odor, and stormwater that goes along with the project. The stormwater will be, there'll be a facility on the north parcel, which will be like a storage yard, and then there'll also be stormwater on the existing parcel that will be enhanced from what we have now. The preliminary facility layout emphasizes truck traffic flow to make sure that it's an efficient path in and out of the facility for the workers, as well as for the community to come and stop at the department. It minimizes impacts to existing facilities and then maximizes the future use of existing and proposed buildings. This is color-coded to show the areas, green, that single entrance and exit to make it more energy efficient. The 30 truck spaces in the orange garage area, 6-bay mechanic shop, locker and break rooms and conference room for the staff, and then the admin office in the front area for visitors. This is another shot of the maintenance bays. They'll be able to service 6 vehicles at a time, and they put in a lot of work coming up with the most efficient way of placing the crane and other equipment to get to be able to maintain what they have. This is the southern portion of the admin space, so it's showing the conference room, the reception area, a large break room for up to 50 staff, the men and women's locker room, and a few different offices. And then the administration office, conference room for 15 to 20 people, which will not only be a great benefit to the highway facility, but also for all the other departments in town to have a place to go if they have to do a training. There's a secure area for the entrance, larger workspace for their office managers and clerk and the superintendents and the foremen. So we're at the next steps. We've done the cost estimating. We're 50% with the complete on the building design. We're ongoing grant research opportunities as well as green energy opportunities, and then we will be looking to bid the project in June.
Mary, that was perfect, thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
And you did that on the fly, I appreciate it.
No problem. Yeah, it's been great being involved in the project. We definitely appreciate all the input. I know Pat's been staying late many times and giving up his lunch break. Sometimes I call him at 1:30 and I can tell he's eating a sandwich or something because he did a noon tour. But he's just been very dedicated to the cause. There's been a lot of positive comments, a lot of people that come and see the facility. Really, it's more impactful than just this video alone. So if you have a chance, please take that opportunity to go see what it looks like in person. And it's great to see that although there's comments and questions out there, I feel as though they're more looking at opportunities to maybe adjust the scope a little bit, but I think everyone recognizes the need for the project. So I think it's really positive. You know, obviously, they're very visible in the community. You see the yellow trucks out on the road on a daily basis. They're keeping our roads clear in the winter. They're out there doing leaves in the fall. So it's definitely a great staff that he has down there. So it's unfortunate that they've been working in these conditions for so long, and it's just a really positive thing for the community to get behind this project and give them what they need. So
Thank you.
Great summary. And Deputy Supervisor, I just want to, thank you for the questions and delineating some of the answers. I've read a lot of the comments that were online, and a lot of these comments are similar, and a lot of people are interested in, geothermal heating and solar panels. Those questions were asked by probably 80% of the people that sent questions in. And if at all possible, if we could have some answers to those questions prior to the next meeting, and perhaps we could do something similar to what we did today. At that point, I don't know if it's feasible or not, but
I don't know if those studies will be completed by next week.
yeah, I'm just saying, if it's at all possible, if we have any information, or they can get some information regarding, past highway garages that they have done, that they cited. And the other aspect that, several people have made the point with regards to the over $3 million in project incidentals. Seems to be a common theme question.
yeah, I can speak a little bit to that if you'd like.
That'd be great.
Yeah, so the project incidental cost right now is coming in at about 14% of the construction cost, which standard projects usually come in around 20%. So we're under the standard incidental budget for most construction projects, and some of the reasons for that is we chose a consultant that has this type of project in their portfolio, so there's efficiencies with them having already put together similar drawings. They have similar specifications that they've already prepared, so it really was cost savings there. When we initially got their estimate for the project, we were able to reduce their design fee by about $250,000. So we were able to really partner up with a good firm who was looking to do an exciting project and was able to come to terms with the town on how can we really make this efficient for us and keep this within as tight of a budget as possible. So that's been a great asset to the project. There's really a simplicity to the design, being that it's a pre-engineered building, so that reduces the cost that consultants need to be, the time that the consultants spend on the project itself. And there's also a lack of complex equipment. So, really the most complicated things that we're putting into this building is the HVAC equipment and cranes and just, things that go into a building. We're not looking at putting blowers and digesters and things that go into the treatment plant. So that cuts down the overhead costs of the consultant fees. And then we've also got limited site challenges. If you go out there and you tour the facility, you can see that there's a large flat area, larger than the footprint that the building will be, so we're not having to do a ton of regrading. There's nothing in the way of where the building's going to be. Highway's been really strategic in how they've been doing their operational work this year in preparation for this construction project. So as they brought in leaves, they made sure that they didn't put the leaf pile where they typically do, because that's where the building is going to go. So they've really, we've really been very strategic in how we've looked at the project, and we're trying to keep our consultants supported, which also reduces costs. So the fact that Pat and I are very involved in the project, and he's bringing in his mechanics and his foremen to answer these questions streamlines the process and reduces the time that the consultant needs to look into things. So I would say that we're trending very well on the incidental budget. So a large portion of that is for the professional services, so the design, the estimating that we're getting done right now. And then once we go into the construction phase, it will be the construction administration, the reviewing of the submittals for all the materials coming in, the on-site inspection services. There's also a portion of the incidentals that is administrative fees, so that's our bond counsel, permitting, utility fees, things of that nature that just go with every project that we do. There's insurances that as a municipality we require, so that's a cost of the project. And then there is a little under $300,000 that's in that budget for furniture and equipment. So this is things like the cubicles, the desks, the break room furniture, so that had to be accounted for somewhere, and it's a lot more cost efficient for the town to purchase those things on their own than to have it baked into the project costs. So really I would argue that yes, it's expensive to do a project, but we're being really diligent in what we're contracting with our consultants, and we're making sure that we're not putting a lot of fluff, as some people are saying, in our incidental budget.
That was a very comprehensive review of what goes into the incidentals.
That was a great answer. That's exactly what I was hoping that you would articulate for those people at home.
We're still questioning.
Those people that are here. It was a great answer. Thank you so much.
Councilman Abbott, I just want to give you, express my gratitude and appreciation for what you've dedicated to this project as well. I was the liaison to Highway before last year, and was actually able to go out on some of the tours when we were looking at other facilities, which to me was just an amazing experience to see what other towns have built to accommodate their public works departments. But Councilman Abbott has been there really in the trenches with the design on this, and I know that when this first came in, it was more than $28 million, and I think you were very vocal about saying, go back to the drawing board. So if you want to perhaps elaborate on it a little bit, or have any other comments, I'd love to hear them.
It originally came in at 33+ million. We've trimmed it down to 28 million. I think that in itself should speak large volumes to the residents of the town of how much we're diligent in what we spend their money on. And some of the people that have questions, all you got to do is call and ask us, and we'll tell them the answers. We do have a preliminary budget. It was developed on 30%, I think, originally.
Correct.
But we're at 50% design now, and soon to be at 60%.
Correct. And when we say 30 or 50% design, it's not as though there's 1/3 or half of the building on the drawings. It's that the details of what type of tile is going where, what type of sink, what types of fixtures. So everything is accounted for at 30% design, but the level of detail as to the specific product that's being used isn't, and there's a placeholder in the budget that was put together so that we know, okay, we have this amount of money that we assume for the tile, we have this amount of money we assume for the carpet, this amount of money that we assume for the windows. And then we furthered the design to get to our final complete 100% design by actually selecting what specific material we will spec for the project. But I don't want people to think that at 30% design, 1/3 of the items that go into the project are in the budget. That's absolutely not true. There is a multiple page spreadsheet that our construction manager put together that literally accounts for every single square foot, every single number of each item that goes into the project.
Well, I'm going to say that if anyone has any of these questions, we need to refer them to the tape of tonight's meeting to become fully educated on the project.
Or
Again,
publicize
thank you.
Mary's phone.
I don't think we're going to give out Mary's phone number. No, I don't think that's a good idea. Thank you so much, and thanks,
Thanks, Mary.
Bill, thank you for what you've done. Jenny, do you have any comments?
No, I have looked over and I read, all those, people feedbacks and, their, and I just wanted to say that, no one likes to borrow money. But we have to look for today and we have to look for the future. And the future is for our next generation and for our community. So like everything else, you have to invest so that you can have the future better for our children.
Thank you. And I guess we can go around with any additional comments. Jenny, I'll start with you. Do you have anything to add tonight?
Oh, well, I encourage people, if you don't have a computer at home, you can go to the public library, the Webster Public Library, to look it over, and, it's free. And they have a lot of activities there for, families too to enjoy, and also come and visit the Webster Museum.
Good point on the computer. Councilman Cahill?
Pretty much all set. Had some very good meetings with some political representatives at Wednesday today to talk about some issues going forward regarding the state of EMS, not only in Monroe County, but here in Webster and throughout the nation. So your local EMSs, nonprofits they're in need of help, and it was nice to see we had a congressman there and a local senator very interested, and it's I was looking forward to see if we can make some gains from the state and hopefully federal standpoint. I think it's a direction that we really need to go to preserve our local EMS.
It was a good discussion. It was Congressman Morelli who came out,
Right.
and Assembly Member Lunsford, who's no longer a representative, but is very passionate about EMS services and had a lot of really good pointers and things to offer and suggestions on areas that could be pursued. So it was a good conversation and good afternoon.
I was very happy with both of their interests. So it was a great meeting.
Paul, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I completed the town's internal financial statement today. It's for 2022. It's very preliminary. It looks very good. It'll be trued up in a few weeks when the auditors come in. But it was a solid year. Sales tax, once again, was just off the charts, broke the record. We collected $7.1 million. It was like 6.3 or 4 last year, and just a couple of years ago it was only 4.6. So it's just, I think the states have perfected a way to tax online sales. So I think that's driving a lot of the sales tax revenue. So things are up. And mortgage tax was also up. Well, like it was down compared to last year, but it was up compared to history, about 1.2 million. I would expect that one to drop off because I don't think there's much mortgage activity at the moment. You can't find a house. And rates are high, so I don't think anyone's refinancing anytime soon. Other than that, it was a solid year.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Mary, have we exhausted you? Do you have anything to add?
No, I can add. No, it was nice today. Pat Stevens and my assistant town engineer Derek and I went to Henrietta, and we had a Stormwater Coalition meeting. It was the first in-person meeting since COVID, so I've been involved with this group of people since I started here, and it was nice to finally put faces to names and have a gathering of about, I don't know, I'd say there was probably like 35 or 40 of us all there from municipalities across the county, so it was great to network a little bit today and get some additional resources from that group. We really leaned on the county a lot with help doing our pond inspections and our outfall inspections. They've let us borrow an iPad, and they have a survey app that lets us fill out the questions for the inspection right on a tablet. So it's great to have that partnership with them and to just keep learning more about the program, the permits being updated sometime soon this year with DEC, which will put more onus on the municipality to do more inspections and more training and things of that nature. So it's great to just keep networking with them, and it's nice to have the support of Pat and Derek there too to help. So it's good to. We left Webster today, which is really uncommon. Now that I live where I work, I don't cross the line as often as I used to. So
Great, sounds like a wonderful opportunity. Bill?
I just want to say thank you to the group that's working on the highway project. It's been a little bit tedious, but we've managed to get it narrowed down, and I'm very happy with the recent drawings that I've looked at. I think we're in a great position to move forward. Once we get the bonding resolution done, we'll get into documents and construction documents. Hopefully we'll be breaking ground this year. Hope.
That's exciting. Attorney Genesi?
As town attorney, I don't have a lot to say, except I will speak as a town resident, and I hope the residents of the town appreciate how well served they are. I've said this before, and having worked with all these people, department heads, the town board, the support staff.
Charlie, can you talk to your microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry. They've shown how well they work and how well they're watching out for the benefit of the town, both certain services and in terms of finances.
Thank you. And you and Paul are headed to the Association of
Yes.
Towns, is that correct? Representing the town of Webster.
Yep.
So we can't wait to hear all the wonderful information that you come back with. It's always a good opportunity to both network and learn about new policies and new procedures. So it's great. Dolly, last but certainly not least.
Just a reminder, for any taxpayers chosen installment payment method for their taxes, the second installment is due February 28th.
Thank you. I don't have anything else to add. I just want to remind everyone that next week's meeting on February 23rd will be a full town board meeting, and it will start at 7:30. And that's it. I will have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Thank you. See you next week.
Patty? Patty, do you have an extra comment sheet? I didn't get one. The comment sheet you have?
I mean, the question?
The question.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm sorry, Les. No, I've got some. Here.
Yeah.
Might continue to cough, and I just had a tickle in the back of your throat, and then your eyes are